you go to Baylor's site, you apply to medical school, and they might have an option to like, do you want to apply to MSTP or something? I don't know, but it's just something you should look into if you really like neuroscience like a lot, you want to do research. You'll see. I mean, you're gonna hopefully get some research experience and then compare that to the shadowing experience. Maybe you like both, which you can do. I mean, a lot of they're called physician scientists. That's a title they use a lot. I guess technically I'm a physician scientist. A lot of physician scientists do both. So they'll have like a few half days of clinic, and then they'll have like a lab they run at a university. They do pretty well too. The university pays them really well. So, like some of the physician scientists I worked with in med school, they were radiologists. So they would read radiology scans for like 2 half days out of the week. You know, like Tuesday, Thursday afternoons, maybe a third day. I don't know. And the rest of the week they're just in their office and research lab. Yeah, it depends. I mean, there's neurosurgeons, you know, you don't need a PhD. There's a lot of neurosurgeons, for instance, doing research without a PhD. The PhD is just a very specific training process on research because medical school, there's a lot of science in medical school, but they don't train you to be a scientist. They just teach you a lot of science. But to generate new science is actually kind of a weird specific skill set. So when I started at PhD school, I was actually really weak coming from medical school on stats. On There's a lot of skill sets on writing papers and the whole journal submission process. Specifically in my field, I was in cognitive neuroscience, so I didn't know anything about fMRI, how to control fMRI experiments, how you do contrast conditions, things like that. So I don't know. I don't know. But if you don't mind the extra length of school, it's like the Uber approach to being a scientist or academic. But then just keep in mind too, after you do your MD PhD, which is 8 years after undergrad. So like a typical program is like people are 18 to 22 in undergrad. They get right into MD PhD. Don't worry if you're not one of these people. I'm just saying, like, I'm just trying to give you a sense of the length of time. You do your MD PhD, now you're 30, because that's 8 years. And then you do a residency, which, a lot of them are like 5 years. There's even longer ones. You're 35, you know what I mean? It gets pretty long after a while. And there's fellowships, there's super fellowships. So, yeah. There's people who are trained to death in this country, floating around the hospital systems and in the university systems. But I don't know. Something worth looking into, because the only requirements for it really is it's the same requirements as med school. You have to have the prereqs to get into med school. You have to have an MCAT score, some letters, clinical shadowing experience, all the stuff that you try to do to get into med school. And then you just have to have an interest in research and maybe like a research statement. So yeah, I'm gonna take a drink here. Let me check my command control panel here that I'm getting used to here. I assume some of you guys stream and you're like, this is not a big deal. I don't know why he's making a big deal out of it, but I'm just checking on something really fast. Let me pick a gain to go lonely after upgrading. Evelstein, thanks for the information. Good listen. What are your thoughts on that long timeline you mentioned? Okay, so my thoughts on the timeline. That's a complex question because, well, it's not that bad. Basically, when I was young, I was in a rush to get through everything as fast as possible. I thought it was hideous, but I also didn't. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know what else I wanted to do too. So, which is why I kind of went through school so fast to get to that. Because I remember seeing this in high school. I was like, wait, there's 8 years after undergrad, and then you still have to do residency. So I started. That's why I tried to get through high school and college super fast because I thought it was hideous, the timeline. But I don't know. As I've gotten older, I've went through so many processes. I went through mid school, residency, PhD. I saw other people. I saw people, you know, in their 40s doing this stuff. I said there was a 50-year-old guy in my class, in my med school class, just starting off. I guess I've gotten a little more chill about it. I guess life is really more about. It's a really bad cliche, very bad platitude, but it's true. The journey, then not the destination. So if you're enjoying what you're doing, I don't know. I don't know if getting to the final stage where you're, in a clinic, seeing patients as some like senior attending is super important. It's kind of simple, like overly simplistic thinking. So yeah, I have a different attitude about it now, but I was all about trying to cut corners and get through everything as fast as possible. Yeah, I don't know. I guess again, it's the harder task really is to figure out actually what you like enjoy doing, or what is a good fit for you rather. So it's hard because if you've never done research, you don't know, and if you go to one lab, you might have a bad experience because that lab sucks. Oh, let's get the double here. And if so I did I rotated a lot of different labs, but yeah, I don't know. They're different things. Research and clinic are different things, and yeah. I mean, the worst for the timeline. So I was on a cardiac surgery rotation, and cardiac surgery is so hideous, like in terms of timeline, because you do, just to go through it again, you do 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of med school, then you do. Am I remembering this correctly? Yeah, you do general surgery, which is 5 years, and then you do cardiac surgery, which is 3 years, and then some of these people were doing super specialty, like minimally invasive cardiothoracic surgery. And that was like another 2 years. So I remember as a med student where I was like 20, 21 years old, and I was standing across this lady, and she's 41 and she's still in residency because she was in her super fellowship. She was in her minimally invasive cardiothoracic fellowship or whatever. And the attending, I don't know, he was kind of a flake, and he had left me and her with the patient in the OR, and so we were closing this patient up. And I don't know, maybe she's like 39 or something, but she was around 40. And I remember just being like, wow, like you're still training. But to me, the training, I had a bad mindset about it. I was always like, the training is just something to get through. But if it's at for that long, I mean, you gotta enjoy it. And then when I moved to SF for grad school, I was really surprised because there was these people just like very lackadaisical, living it up. These MDs that were like, I met this one lady. She was in her second residency, like she'd done a residency and she decided to start all over again. And she's just enjoying herself. She goes shopping, and I don't know. She had friends down in Stanford, and she'd come up and down between Palo Alto and SF. And so it's just all about your attitude, if that makes any sense at all. I don't know. And I'm not a great person to listen to because I had the opposite attitude when I was a kid. I was kind of a overly pragmatist, I guess. But what can you do? Yeah. Oh yeah, there was a person in Minnesota that had I know did 3 residencies. I don't remember what they were, but there are some psychos out there. Oh yeah, let's get this guy. This is pretty good. Yeah, there was a professor at the dental school of one of these dental schools, and he had a he had 4 degrees. What was it? It was like a DDS, an MBA, a law degree, and I don't know. It was the most psycho thing I've ever seen. So you know, I shouldn't talk because I spent a lot of time in school, but I did get out of it in my 20s. So, but but yeah, some people just like being in school, and you can kind of do that in this country. So if you're one of those people, go for it.